the business has to inject energy into our person, our life. And the way a business does that is by, you know, sending fat wires and Zells and distributions. So when that's not happening, then typically the founder is putting more energy into the business than they're getting back. Even if they're using the business's accounts to pay for aspects of their life, the purpose of our business is to give us income that we use to buy assets. It took me a while to figure this shit out. The purpose of our business is to spit out income that we use to buy assets. The dollar is a depreciating store of value, right? So if we basically inflation, which is way over the numbers that they report, let's say it's 15%. That means every year, let's say you're keeping your money in your business bank account because we're using it as a piggy bank, it will lose 15% of its value. And they keep printing more money. The way the monetary system is run, that's how they steal money from people. So what happens is that if we don't actually take that money that we are getting from the business, move it to a different account, like Eli saying, his investment account, and using it to buy assets that ideally don't lose value, but ideally they gain value. So a common thing that a lot of people do is, let's say, real estate. The bet that they're making is, if I take 100 grand, if I use that to buy, a property and then I Airbnb it off, basically I'm increasing that property is going to appreciate over time. I'm going to be getting the income from the Airbnb, which I can use to pay the mortgage. And now I have an asset that's increasing in value. And I'm not saying go buy real estate. I know we spend a lot of time talking about business and how to grow business, but really the actual game we're playing is how to build wealth. And building wealth is a different game than growing a business.
Yes.
I call this the scaling pyramid because there's three variables, three nodes to the equation that we have to balance. Three sets of needs, desires, boundaries, constraints. The founder, the customers, the people we serve, customers, clients, audience, market, and then the business itself. Because in my world, we see businesses as entities as well. A business is a geometry composed of people, tools, systems. It has its own frequency, it has its own energy, and that can go up and down depending on what's happening.
Right.
So the mistake that I see a lot of people make is putting the customer first or putting the business first. So an example of putting the customer first is and this is sometimes taken so far because people see it as a virtue, they are basically overgiving. The energy balance is off. They're giving way more than they're receiving. So they're charging too low. They're giving way too much for what they're charged, in an effort to over deliver. They're, under resourced, and they're underpaid. They're not really receiving a level of exchange energetically that's going to make the whole thing sustainable. Then the other kind of mistake is putting the business first. When someone puts the business first, they're basically, the energy balance again is off. They're working a lot. They're putting a lot in. They're expending a lot of energy. They're thinking about the business when they wake up, when they go to bed. They're even having dreams about it every waking minute. When they're eating food, they're watching a YouTube video on how to grow the business. The business basically consumes all the energy in their life. Often what I see is when founders are basically pouring into the business, making the business the most important thing, at some point their health starts to suffer. It could be their physical health, could be their mental health. Something starts to really degrade. And there's only so much time or runway we have to overgive to the business before some aspect of the founder system starts to break down. So what I found the most sustainable design for a business, particularly to scale a business, to ensure that the customer and the market that the business is serving wins, as well as the business wins, is to put the founder first. We have to build businesses founder first, because without the founder, the business doesn't exist. Even if ideally, when we grow to a level, we can hire a team and delegate most or all of the operations and tasks to the team, maybe even have an executive team or hire a CEO at later stages of growth. But for most people, if they disappear for 6 months, the business falls apart. So typically, the founder is the biggest point of risk for the business. And if the founder goes kaput, then the customers aren't winning. They're not going to be really getting value for very long, and the business falls apart. So the most sustainable architecture is putting the founder first, because when we do that and the founder is fully resourced, so they're fully at ease, they are not stressed all the time, their core needs are met, they're getting enough money in the form of income from the business that things feel sustainable. Of course, they have boundaries. Then they're actually able to allocate high quality attention and energy to the business in a way that helps the business thrive and also benefits the customers massively. And that's the whole reason why this idea of the primary purpose of a business is to produce income that the founder uses to buy assets is so crucial, because entrepreneurs don't get wealthy off of businesses. The times when that happens is when they get an exit. So someone's paying them a big multiple of how much money the business makes every year. So they get a big lump sum amount that they then take and buy assets, right? They invested in other things. So not all businesses are designed to be exited. Most businesses, it's very hard to exit. So there's performance businesses and there's lifestyle businesses. So businesses designed to exit and businesses designed to create a great lifestyle. So when the founder is supported by a foundation of assets, could be real estate, could be stocks, bonds, crypto. When they're supported by a foundation of assets, they experience a lot more stability. They experience a lot more abundance. They experience a lot more ease. And that actually enables them to grow the business to its full potential and serve a market to their full potential. But if we reverse this in any way, it fucks up the whole thing. And honestly, this is one of the big issues that I see in the market.
Yes.
That founders don't take care of themselves. They're not taking care of their bodies. They're not taking care of their minds. They are taking from themselves and putting it in the business. They're taking from themselves and giving it to clients and customers. And when that happens, it becomes very unsustainable very quickly, because we can't do that forever. So from a monetary perspective, if we approach business in this way, that we take the income that it produces, we use it. Of course, we, pay for our expenses and have a great lifestyle, but we're keeping an eye on, hey, this cash, it loses value over time because of inflation, because of monetary policy, because of all these things, which means that I basically am using my life force energy, putting it into the business to produce cash. I'm not getting younger, which means I have a window of time when I have a lot of life force energy to put and apply it into a business to turn that energy into cash, if that cash is losing value over time, I'm basically building on quicksand. So the formula that works really well is if this founder is taking a percentage of the income that's coming from the business, they use it to buy assets. And over time, those assets are producing income passively that take care of their expenses. Then now they can truly operate and grow the business in abundance because their expenses and overhead is covered and maybe then some. So now they're not playing to not lose. They're not playing to win. They're playing to play. And play is the only sustainable strategy in business because effort inherently is energetically very expensive. So that's my answer to why. And it is worth mentioning that all our businesses, the way we're generating this income is by helping people and serving people. Like our money is tied to how much benefit we can drive to customers and clients. Like we're not selling cigarettes or pharmaceuticals. We're selling stuff that is making a significant, meaningful difference in people's lives. So our income is implicitly tied to service and tied to contribution. That's part of the design of the whole thing.
So it's the mechanism, not the purpose.
Bingo.